My family ignored me for years, then flew in demanding money like I owed them Reddit stories. After 3 years of silence, they showed up uninvited, counting my income like it belonged to them. The moment I said no, the visit turned into something far darker. Hi, I'm Evan, 32, and the day my family decided I was useful again was the day they learned just how irrelevant they'd become. I didn't grow up in a dramatic household, just one where I was the background character in someone else's movie. My brother Trevor was the star. The golden child. The future CEO of whatever scam he was building that week. My parents orbit him like he was the sun and I was the moon they forgot they had. 3 years ago, I moved cross-country for the biggest promotion of my career, senior network architect at a Fortune 100 cybersecurity company. I dropped the news in my parents' living room, $180,000 base, equity, relocation, all of it, and not a single person looked up from the TV, their phones, or whatever TikTok Trevor was filming about. The grind? That was the moment something in my chest went quiet, then clear. 5 weeks later, I left Michigan before the sun came up. I sent a goodbye message in the family group chat. They left me on read. So I blocked them, drove 1,200 miles to Austin, and built a life, a real one, full of people who actually saw me. I got a 23rd floor apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows, adopted a Belgian Malinois mix named Zuko, met a woman who matched my ambition and respected my boundaries, and discovered how good silence feels when nobody's draining you dry. 3 years. Not a word from my family. Then one weekend my cousin posted a photo of my apartment on Instagram. 412 likes later, my phone lit up like a Vegas strip. Mom, Dad, Trevor, all resurfacing like debt collectors who smelled fresh income. But the text that told me exactly who they still were? Your brother needs money. We're on our way. They weren't asking. They were announcing. As if I'd been sitting in Austin just waiting for my owners to come collect my earnings. I told them not to come. They came anyway. And they had no idea what they were walking into. They landed in Austin at 11:20 a.m. On a Saturday, exactly like they warned, 4 rolling suitcases, 3 entitled faces, and 1 7-year-old nephew who looked like he needed a nap and 2 stable adults. I opened the door just enough to block the frame with my body. I told you not to come, I said. Mom gave me the pageant smile she used when pretending we were a normal family. Sweetheart, we flew all this way. Sounds like a personal choice, I said. Not my problem. Dad stepped forward like he owned the building. We're your parents. We don't need permission to visit. You do, I said. And you didn't get it. Trevor rolled his eyes, his voice already at a bro frequency. Man, stop being dramatic and let us in. So that was the tone we were setting. I stepped back, opened the door, and said, 2 hours. That's it. When the timer's up, you leave. They rushed in like locusts. Mom went straight to assessing the furniture. Dad hijacked my TV remote and blasted the Tigers game without asking. Trevor filmed a video for his followers, pretending to live in the lifestyle I'd built. And Hudson, poor kid, immediately started jumping on my couch like it was a trampoline. Hey, bud, I said gently. No jumping on the furniture. Mom didn't look up from inspecting my coffee maker. He's 7. He has energy. He can have energy without breaking my couch, I said. She shot me a look like I'd insulted the Pope. Then came the interrogation. So, Mom said, lowering her voice into her fake casual tone, how much does a place like this cost? Dad didn't even look away from the TV. It's gotta be at least $2,600 a month downtown. Trevor laughed. Bro, no way you rent this on anything less than $200,000 a year. What's your total comp now? With equity, I mean? I stared at them, 3 people who hadn't asked how I'd been, how work was, how life was, who I was dating, if I was happy. They didn't want family. They wanted a numbers report. They wanted a balance sheet. They wanted leverage. My finances, I said, aren't your business. Trevor leaned forward. Come on, man. Help us understand the game. Get a degree, I said. Work for it. That one landed hard. Trevor's jaw tightened. Mom swooped in. Evan, there's no need to be rude. I'm not being rude, I said. I'm being honest. Something this family avoids like sunlight. We burned through 40 minutes like that, me pushing boundaries, them pretending they weren't here for a reason. Then Mom sat up straighter, smoothed her blouse, and finally dropped the act. Your brother, she said, is in trouble. He needs money. There it was. The real beginning. The real reason they'd flown 1,200 miles. Absolutely not, I said. You haven't even heard the amount, she cried. And I don't need to, I said. The answer is no. Trevor stood up, angry now. You'd let me fail? Just like that? Yes, I said. Just like that. The room went silent. Dad turned off the game. Mom's smile evaporated. Trevor's face flushed red. I checked my phone. 1 hour, 44 minutes had passed. Time's up, I said. Everybody out. They didn't expect me to follow through. They didn't think I'd enforce a boundary. They didn't understand yet that I wasn't the kid they raised. But they were about to learn. And the lesson? Was going to hurt. They didn't move. Mom clutched her purse like she was preparing for takeoff into victimhood. Dad planted his feet like a man who'd never been told. No. Trevor crossed his arms, ready to perform outrage for an audience of one. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't justify. Didn't explain. I simply opened the door. Out. Mom blinked fast, her tears warming up like an actor backstage. After everything we've done for you. I laughed. Actually laughed. Name one thing. She froze. One, I said. Be specific. Silence. Dad puffed up. We're your family. Incorrect. I said. Family shows up. Family cares. Family doesn't ghost you for 3 years and pop up when a cousin accidentally leaks that I live in a nice apartment. Trevor stepped forward. Bro, you're acting insane. We flew here. That's your mistake. I said. Not my responsibility. He jabbed a finger toward me. We need $75,000 so I can keep my business afloat. I stared at him. Trevor, your business sells bulk Alibaba trash at a markup to teenagers. You don't have a business. You have a hobby with debt. His ears burned red. You're gonna regret talking to me like that. No, I said. I regret not saying it sooner. Hudson tugged on Trevor's sleeve, scared. That kid didn't deserve any of this. But he wasn't my responsibility either. Mom's voice cracked like she'd been rehearsing the line. We came here because we're desperate, Evan. We need you. There it was. Not love. Not reconciliation. Not interest in my life. Need. That was the only reason they crossed state lines. I don't owe you anything, I said. Dad made his move then, stepped toward my hallway like he could just walk deeper into my home out of sheer entitlement. Zuko thundered out of the bedroom, hackles up, a deep warning growl vibrating the floor. Dad froze. Mom gasped. Trevor pulled Hudson back instinctively. I put a calming hand on Zuko's neck. You have 10 seconds, I said quietly. No threats. No theatrics. Just certainty. Mom grabbed her suitcase first. Dad muttered something about ungrateful children and disrespect, the family's favorite word for setting boundaries. Trevor stopped in the doorway, eyes narrow. You think this is over? We're not leaving Austin until we get what we came for. Good luck, I said. Hotels are expensive here. He smirked. Who said we're staying at a hotel? The elevator doors closed before I could respond. Zuko leaned against my leg, sensing my tension. I inhaled slowly. They weren't giving up. They weren't leaving. They weren't done taking. This wasn't a family visit. This was an invasion. And I had vastly underestimated how desperate they were. Because the next time they showed up at my door, they didn't come empty-handed. They came with a plan. And something of mine they never should have touched. 2 days passed. Silence thick enough to feel wrong. Then, Wednesday afternoon, 5:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. We need to talk. Urgent. Family matter. Blocked. 10 minutes later. Please, Evan. It's serious. Blocked. 30 minutes after that. Building security called. Mr. Cole? There's a situation. Of course there was. We've got a woman claiming she's your mother. She's crying in the lobby. I pulled up the live camera feed. There she was, in full dramatic posture, tissues on standby, rehearsed tremble in her shoulders. She kept glancing toward the elevators like she expected me to descend from heaven and forgive her sins. Please tell her I'm not available, I said. She says she'll wait. Then she'll wait. 3 hours. She sat in that lobby for 3 hours. When she finally left, she sent an email, 5 paragraphs of emotional contortion, carefully avoiding accountability while begging for it to be my responsibility. I didn't reply. The next morning, Dad tried calling my job. He told HR it was a family emergency. I informed HR it was family harassment. They flagged my file. No further calls would be routed through. By Friday, I thought maybe they'd give up. I should have known better. Because Friday night, when Zuko and I walked our usual loop around the block, something felt off. Air too still. Street too quiet. That prickling at the back of my neck I'd learned to trust in cybersecurity work and in childhood. We turned the corner. A van door slid open. Before I could react, Dad stepped out and grabbed Zuko's leash. Trevor shoved me backward. It happened fast, swift, coordinated, practiced. The kind of teamwork I'd never seen from them when it came to anything productive. Hey! I lunged, but Trevor blocked me. You're gonna listen now, he said. His voice wasn't angry. It was desperate. Ugly desperate. Dad dragged Zuko toward the van. My dog barked, growled, pulled, confused and terrified. My heart stopped cold. What the heck are you doing? Trevor leaned closer. We need $75,000. You're going to give it to us? Absolutely not. Then we sell the dog. My blood turned to fire. Trevor kept going. There's a guy who buys working breeds. Pays cash. No questions. No paperwork. Once he's gone, he's gone. You wouldn't, I said. Voice low. Dangerous. Trevor smirked. Try me. Dad already had Zuko halfway in the van. My dog whimpered, this horrible, panicked sound I'd never heard from him. You have 48 hours, Trevor said. Wire the money, or the dog goes. And don't bother calling the cops. By the time they care, he'll be in another state. They pushed Zuko inside. Slid the door shut. The engine started. The van peeled away. Zuko's face, pressed against the back window, was the last thing I saw. Not afraid of them. Afraid I wasn't coming. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then everything inside me went still. Cold. Surgical. The version of me they wanted, the quiet son, the fixer, the one who kept the peace, died in that street. What stood up in his place was someone they had no idea how to deal with. I walked home. Called my lawyer. Called the police. And then I pulled every financial record my family had ever touched. They wanted to play games? Fine. They just triggered a game they were spectacularly unprepared for. And the end result wouldn't just be me getting my dog back. It would be the moment they realized. When you treat someone like a resource instead of a person, you don't get to complain when they finally collect their cost. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I paced my apartment like a caged animal, checking the window every time a car drove past. The only thing louder than the fear was the rage sitting steady and cold in my chest. At 11 p.m., my lawyer, Harlow, finally called back. "Evan," he said, "walk me through it again." "They took my dog," I said flatly. "They threatened to sell him if I don't wire $75,000 in 48 hours. That's extortion and theft." "I know." "You called the cops?" "Yes." "They said they need to confirm the dog's location before they can take action. It's complicated if the dog is family property. Blah blah blah. Bottom line, they don't move fast enough. If they sell him, he's gone." Harlow was silent for a moment. "Okay," he said. "Then we don't scare them. We corner them. What do they want most? Money. What do they need most? Stability. What's their biggest vulnerability?" I didn't hesitate. "The house." "Correct." And just like that, the blueprint clicked into place. Because here's what my family didn't know. For years, they'd been playing financial roulette with Trevor's failures. Payday loans, supplier credit lines, second mortgages, co-signing deals they didn't understand. And I had access to every public record with one click. I pulled everything. Mortgage balance, second lien, delinquency notices, debt and collections, judgments, the works. At 2 a.m., Harlow emailed me back. "Evan, they are 58 days from foreclosure." Dad and Mom had borrowed against the house to cover Trevor's business expansions, all while ghosting me for 3 years. They were sinking. Fast. And Trevor? 6 open lines of business credit. $68,000 owed. All personally guaranteed. He was drowning. And they thought I was the lifeboat. But the moment they touched my dog, the moment they crossed that line, they turned me into something else. Not a victim. Not a son. A strategist. I didn't call them. Didn't negotiate. I drafted a purchase offer for their house at fair market value, $240,000, cash, closing in 2 weeks. An offer that, in their situation, was a godsend. An offer that also came with a warning. If anything happened to Zuko, the offer vanished. And so did their last chance at avoiding the street. Saturday morning, Mom called from a new number. Her voice was shaking. "Evan, please. Trevor he didn't mean it. We'll figure something out, but we can't lose the house." "You already lost it," I said. "I'm offering to buy it. Saving you from foreclosure. Saving your credit. This is the best deal you'll ever get. Evan, you have 72 hours to sign. If Zuko isn't returned today, the clock ends right now." Silence. Then, "We'll talk to Trevor." "You do that." I hung up. 15 minutes later, my building's front desk called. "Mr. Cole? There's a man here with a dog." I sprinted to the lobby. Dad was standing there, eyes hollow, holding Zuko's leash like it burned him. My dog barreled into me, nearly knocking me over, tail wagging, whining, burying his face into my chest. I didn't look at Dad. He didn't say a word. He just handed me the leash and walked out. 2 days later, the sale contract was signed. 2 weeks after that, the house was mine. Not to save them. Not to protect them. To remove the weapon they thought they could use against me. Because they still believed, even after everything, that once I rescued them, the nightmare would be over. But they had no idea what was coming next. They were about to learn that I didn't buy their house to save them. I bought it to end them. The day the house officially transferred into my name, the realtor handed me the keys with a polite smile. "Congratulations," she said. If she knew the context, she might have offered condolences instead. Because the moment the ink dried, my parents believed, truly believed, that things would go back to normal. That I would let them stay. That I would charge them nothing. That rescuing them was my duty. They had no comprehension of how badly they'd misread the situation. They'd threatened my dog. There was no normal after that. My lawyer filed the tenancy documents immediately. Month-to-month tenancy. Rent due, $1,900. Late fee, $100. Eviction begins after 30 days of non-payment. No grace exceptions. No family discounts. No nonsense. It might as well have been a foreign language to them. Dad called first. "Evan, this rent is outrageous." "That's the market rate," I said. "Family doesn't charge family." "You didn't think that when you kidnapped my dog." That shut him up. Mom tried next. "Honey, we can't afford $1,900. Not with your father's hours cut. You should have thought about that before you tied your finances to Trevor's fantasy business empire." Silence. Mom cleared her throat. "We were hoping you'd let us stay here for less." "How much?" "Around $800. I laughed. "Not mean. Just surprised. You want me to subsidize you living in a house you nearly lost because you co-signed a 30-year-old man's debt?" Mom's voice cracked, shifting into her favorite role, victim. "Evan, please. We're your parents. We've made mistakes. But we're trying." "You made one mistake," I said. "You raised Trevor and expected me to clean up after him." She started crying harder. It didn't move me. The first month, they scraped together rent. The second month, they were late. I charged a late fee. The third month, they couldn't pay at all. Trevor had moved in with them, bringing nothing but debt, an unemployed adult body, and a 7-year-old who deserved better parents than the 3 generations he'd been handed. Mom begged for more time. I gave them 10 days. On day 11, I filed for eviction. They couldn't believe it. Dad called yelling, "You can't evict your own parents." "You're my tenants," I said. "Not my parents." "Not anymore." Trevor texted, "You think you're some kind of big man? We'll fight this. We have rights." "You have the right," I replied, "to leave voluntarily before the sheriff removes you." He didn't respond. 2 weeks later, the sheriff served the notice. 3 weeks after that, they were removed. I didn't go. Didn't need to. Property management sent photos instead. Trash left behind. Holes in walls. Missing refrigerator. Carpet stains even professionals refused to guess at. I forwarded everything to Trevor with one message: "This will be added to your outstanding balance." Then I renovated the house, repainted it, replaced appliances, installed security upgrades, and listed it for rent at $2,100. It was filled within a week. Cash flow: $2,100 monthly rent. Minus $280 taxes. Minus $150 insurance. Minus $200 management. Net passive income, over $1,400 a month. From the same house they once told me wasn't really yours. They were now living in a 1-bedroom apartment on the wrong side of town, my parents, Trevor, and Hudson. A family of 4 in a space half the size of my living room. Trevor's BMW was repossessed at 6 a.m. My porch camera caught the tow truck arriving. Trevor lost custody of Hudson. Mom worked 2 jobs. Dad's health declined. Their world collapsed like a building with the supports knocked out, because I'd been the supports. But here's the thing. I felt absolutely nothing. Not guilt. Not pleasure. Just clarity. This, all of this, was the natural consequence of a lifetime of choices. They thought they could treat me like a resource, a backup plan, a spare tire. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't one. 8 months passed. Life moved on, for me, anyway. I was thriving. Work was solid. Marissa and I were building something real. Zuko slept with his massive head on my chest every night like he was making sure I wasn't going anywhere. My family, meanwhile, was evaporating. Trevor lost the rest of his entrepreneur ventures. Every supplier called in their debt. His credit tanked so hard it might as well have been subterranean. He bounced between minimum wage warehouse jobs and business ideas that lasted 48 hours each. Mom and Dad lived in that cramped one-bedroom, arguing loud enough that neighbors filed noise complaints. Word spread through extended family that Evan turned his back on blood, but interestingly, no one volunteered to take them in. It's funny how fast loyalty dries up when the ATM closes. I didn't engage. Didn't send money. Didn't send apologies. Didn't check in. But I did keep the documentation. Paper trails. Screenshots. Police reports. Voicemails. Bank records. Everything. Not out of spite, out of experience. When people like my family lose control, they rewrite history to feel better. And they were running out of pages to rewrite. Then, on a quiet Thursday afternoon, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost ignored it. Should have ignored it. But something, maybe closure, maybe curiosity, made me swipe answer. Evan, it's Trevor. I didn't speak. Just waited. He sounded wrong. Small. Thin. A person deflated. Can we talk? Please? I'm not asking for money. I said nothing. I need you to meet me. 1 cup of coffee. That's all. Against my better judgment, I said yes. Not because I forgave him. Not because he deserved it. But because sometimes you need to see the ashes to believe the fire is truly out. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral, public, controlled. Trevor walked in wearing clothes 2 sizes too big, hair unwashed, shoulders slumped. He looked like someone life had chewed through and spit out. He sat down quietly, hands shaking around a paper cup. I'm not here to ask for anything, he said. I just wanted you to see what I've become. I stayed silent. Hudson's living with his mom full-time now. I only get supervised visits. He asked me if we're ever getting our big house back. His voice cracked. I didn't know what to tell him. Still, I said nothing. I messed everything up. He whispered. All of it. All the chances. All the help. And you were right. You were right about everything. He looked up at me with eyes that weren't angry anymore, just empty. I don't have friends. I don't have a business. I don't have a car. I don't have anything. And I did this. I know I did. He wiped his face with the back of his hand. Mom writes you letters she never sends. Dad, he talks about you at night. Says your name. Regrets. They're not asking for money either. They just want to know if there's any chance you'll ever come back. A long silence stretched between us. Finally, Trevor whispered, Please, can we start over? I took a slow breath, stood up, and said, No. His face crumpled like wet paper. Evan, please. I shook my head. You didn't just cross a line, I said quietly. You obliterated it. I leaned closer. You kidnapped my dog. You threatened to sell him. You used the only thing I love as leverage. There is no coming back from that. He collapsed into quiet, helpless sobbing. People stared. I didn't care. You're not my responsibility, I said. None of you ever were. You chose Trevor's dreams over my existence for 30 years. You chose desperation over decency. And now you want a do-over because you're living the consequences. He tried to speak. I stopped him. I don't hate you, I said. I just don't know you. I never did. And I'm done sacrificing pieces of myself for strangers who share my DNA. I turned toward the exit. Trevor's voice cracked behind me. Evan, we're begging you. I didn't look back. That's the difference, I said. I built something. And you burned everything. Then I walked out. The sliding doors closed behind me with a soft hiss, like the world exhaling. A clean, final sound. The kind that only comes once the past has nothing left to take. When I walked out of that coffee shop, sunlight hit me like I'd stepped into a different life. Not a new chapter, a new book entirely. Trevor's shaking voice, his cracked apology, his whispered, We're begging you. Stayed behind those glass doors, trapped with all the other ghosts I'd finally stopped feeding. But the universe wasn't done testing just how firm my boundaries were. That evening, Marissa and I took Zuko on a long walk around the lake. Zuko trotted ahead, ears perked, tail high, confident again, the way he hadn't been since the day my family tried to weaponize him. Every time he glanced back at me, it was like he was checking. We're safe now, right? We were. For the first time in years, we actually were. Marissa bumped her shoulder into mine. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just closing a door that should have been locked a long time ago. She nodded. Good. Some doors only lead to fires. But I didn't know yet, my family wasn't done trying to burn their way back in. When we got home, I found an envelope on my apartment door. No sender, messy handwriting, shoved crookedly into the frame. Marissa glanced at it. Expecting anything? No. I opened it. Inside were 4 pages handwritten, messy, looping script I recognized immediately. My mom. I didn't sit down. I didn't stall. I read. Evan. I don't know if you'll ever see this. I know you blocked every number. I know you don't owe us anything. I know we failed you in ways we didn't understand until it was too late. But I want to tell you something your father will never admit. We didn't ignore you because you didn't matter. We ignored you because Trevor was louder, needier, harder to manage, and we convinced ourselves you didn't need us. You were independent. You were capable. You succeeded without us. And we mistook that for an excuse to give you nothing. I'm sorry. The second page went darker, the kind of confession people only write when they believe they've already lost. Your father knows what he did was unforgivable. He knows he shouldn't have grabbed your dog. He hasn't slept a full night since. He wakes up saying your name, as if he's calling you back from the driveway. Trevor is in pieces. I'm not asking you to fix him. I'm not asking you to forgive him. I'm not asking for anything except this. Please don't disappear forever. Even if you never call us again. Even if you never see us again. Please don't hate us. We failed. We know that now. I wish we had known it sooner. At the bottom of the last page, she wrote something that hit harder than everything before it. I don't want money. I don't want the house. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to have the life we never gave you the room to build. My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't tighten. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel triumph. What I felt was clarity. The kind that comes when the dust settles, and you finally see the ruin for what it is, not a tragedy, not a loss, but the inevitable collapse of something that was never built right in the first place. Marissa read my expression and stayed quiet. After a moment, she asked, You going to respond? No. Good. I folded the letters back into the envelope and placed them in the kitchen drawer, not to keep, not to revisit, but simply to acknowledge that even wreckage deserves a place before it's taken to the trash. That night, as I sat on the balcony with Zuko's head on my knee, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not anger. Not grief. Not victory. Just distance. Clean, quiet distance. My family had spent decades teaching me my place. Now I finally understood. My place was nowhere near them. 3 days passed without a single attempt from my parents or Trevor to contact me, not via phone, email, burner number, social media, nor a desperate voicemail cracking under guilt. It was eerie. Not peaceful. Not threatening. Just quiet in a way that felt unnatural for people who never accepted the word no in their lives. But quiet rarely means over. It usually means plotting. I learned that the hard way growing up. On the 4th day, my building's front desk called. Mr. Harding? There's someone down here asking for you. My stomach didn't drop. My pulse didn't spike. I was just tired. Who is it? I asked. She didn't give her name. Older woman. Crying a lot. Says it's urgent. I closed my eyes. Mom. Of course. Tell her I'm not coming down. I said. And tell her to leave the property. If she refuses, call security. Yes, sir. I hung up, but something made me walk to the balcony and look down. 23 floors below, I saw her, tiny from that height, pacing near the valet lane, wringing her hands, shoulders hunched like a person bracing for rain. She kept glancing toward the building doors, hoping I'd appear. I didn't. She wasn't here to apologize. She wasn't here to reconnect. She was here because desperation makes people believe they can negotiate reality. Security approached her. I watched the conversation play out like a silent film. Mom shaking her head. Security gesturing to the sidewalk. Mom pleading. Security standing firm. Mom finally walking away, slow and dragging, toward the street. A part of me, the part that still had the muscle memory of being a child hoping for his parents to notice him, felt something like grief. But the grown part of me, the rebuilt part, knew better. You don't open the door for someone who burned down the house. That evening Marissa came over with Zeus, her Doberman, and takeout from our favorite Thai place. The dogs wrestled in the living room while we ate on the couch. She watched me for a moment. She showed up? Marissa asked gently. Yeah. You okay? I'm processing. She nodded, leaning into me. Processing is the stage before clarity. I knew that much. But clarity came sooner than expected. Because the next morning, when I checked my mail, there was another envelope. Not handwritten this time. Typed. Formal. Too clean. My brain registered the return address before my heart did. Child Protective Services. For half a second, just long enough for the world to tilt, I felt my breath catch. Zuko nudged my hand, sensing something. I opened it. Not a complaint. Not an accusation. A notice. A request for contact regarding an ongoing case involving Trevor Harding. My chest loosened. But confusion replaced the fear. Why contact me? I called the number listed. Hi, this is Evan Harding. I received a notice regarding my brother's case. Oh, yes, Mr. Harding, thank you for calling, the caseworker said. We reached out because your nephew, Hudson, listed you on a school form as a trusted adult. I froze. He did? Yes. And with your brother currently without stable housing and failing several compliance reviews, we're assessing placement options. Hudson specifically requested you. We legally need to confirm whether you'd be willing to be considered. Zuko rested his head against my thigh. And something heavy, years heavy, shifted under my ribs. My family had failed me. But that didn't mean I had to fail the one kid who never did anything wrong. Mr. Harding? The caseworker asked gently. Should I mark you as willing to be contacted about Hudson? My throat tightened. I looked around my apartment. My life. My stability. My hard-earned peace. And then I pictured Hudson, confused, scared, being dragged through the consequences of adult choices he never made. Yes, I said quietly. You can contact me. The caseworker sounded relieved. Thank you, Mr. Harding. Truly. When I hung up, Marissa walked in from the balcony, hair pulled back, sunlight catching her cheekbones. You okay? She asked again. I nodded slowly. Then, no. But I think I will be. She came closer, touched my face. What happened? I swallowed. Hudson listed me as his trusted adult. Marissa's expression softened instantly. Oh, Evan. I didn't cry. Not exactly. But my voice broke when I whispered. He chose me. Zuko nudged my hand again. And in that moment, something shifted inside me, not back toward my family, not toward reconciliation, but toward responsibility. Not for them. For him. The one person in that entire bloodline who never once used me. Never once ignored me. Never once treated me as an afterthought. For the first time, there was something pulling me forward instead of backward. And it was only beginning. I didn't deny it. Because somewhere in my chest, beneath the layers of anger and distance, and all the boundaries I'd built out of necessity, there was still a piece of me that remembered being a kid who wished someone had chosen him. And now a kid, the only kid in my entire family who ever looked at me without expectation, was choosing me. The next morning, I drove across Austin before the traffic hit, Zuko whining softly in the back seat like he knew something serious was happening. CPS had an office tucked between a strip mall and a medical plaza, the kind of unremarkable building most people never notice until their life changes inside it. The caseworker, Ms. Carver, met me in a small conference room. She had that mix of warmth and exhaustion you only see in people who work impossible jobs for too little pay. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Harding. Evan's fine." She smiled. "Evan, then." She opened a folder, too thick, and I braced myself. "This is regarding your nephew, Hudson. As you know, your brother has failed multiple compliance requirements. He's been transient for several months. His psychological evaluation flagged instability, untreated stress responses, and repeated exposure to unsafe environments." I kept my jaw still. "My hands, too," she continued. "Your parents were ruled out for placement due to income verification failures and ongoing health concerns. Translation: habitually broke, consistently dishonest, physically incapable. And Hudson specifically requested you. More than once. That hit like a quiet punch. He said you're the only adult who ever listens to him." She added gently. "I wasn't prepared for that. Not even a little." She slid a paper toward me. "Before we proceed with a home assessment, we need to confirm something very important. Are you open to being considered for temporary kinship placement?" "Temporary?" I echoed. "For now," she said. "Depending on how things unfold with your brother, it may become long-term." My breath didn't hitch. It anchored. Because the thing I realized in that moment was simple. I wasn't afraid of raising him. I was afraid of becoming the same kind of inconsistent force my family had been to me. But I wasn't them. "I'm open to it," I said quietly. She nodded, relieved. "We'll schedule a home visit this week. Hudson will be informed." When I left the building, the sun felt too bright for the weight I was carrying. I sat in the car, Zuko nudging my shoulder, and let the new reality settle in. This wasn't what I planned. This wasn't something I asked for. But life has a way of putting the right people in front of you at the moment you're finally able to choose differently. That night, Marissa came over with takeout and sat cross-legged on my couch while I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, without judgment, without fear. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. "Okay. So what do you need from me?" And something in my chest softened. Because that's the difference between real family and the one you're born into. One demands from you, the other stands with you. I expected the next days to be quiet. They weren't. 2 mornings later, my phone rang before sunrise. Unknown number. I knew before I picked up. "Evan?" Trevor's voice. Hoarse. Broken. Smaller than I'd ever heard him. "What do you want?" I know they talked to you." A shaky breath. "I know Hudson picked you." I said nothing. "And I'm not calling to stop it," he whispered. "I'm calling to ask." His voice cracked. "Please don't let him end up like me." Of all the things I expected him to say, that wasn't on the list. "I can't give him what he needs," Trevor continued. "I used to think I could. I used to think I deserved to. But I've wrecked everything, Evan. Everything. And he deserves better than watching me drown." For a second, there was no anger left in me. Just quiet sadness. Not for him. For the kid caught in the blast radius. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Trevor said. "I'm not asking you to talk to me after this call. I'm begging you to take care of him. Please." I closed my eyes. Zuko pressed his head against my leg again. "I will," I said. Trevor exhaled like the words physically lifted something off his back. "Thank you," he whispered. "For being what I couldn't." The line went silent. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for a second chance. He didn't make excuses. He just let go. When I hung up, something inside me shifted again, not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but a sense of direction I'd never felt before. A purpose that had nothing to do with fixing my past and everything to do with protecting someone else's future. And that's when it hit me. For the first time in my entire life. I wasn't running from my family. I was stepping in front of one.